Hello, this is the Road to Sarosia, back for another video, and this one has turned fairly interesting for today. So one of the things that I ran into today was, well, it actually happened a couple days ago. So yeah, it happened. Yeah, a couple of days ago. Our wonderful governor, who's not so wonderful, decided that he was going to make it Hispanic Heritage Month in Utah. Yay! Um, well, the Hispanic people are good people, and I don't have a problem in honoring them, but I do have a problem in honoring them for nothing really extraordinary, because they have contributed, but it hasn't been an extraordinary contribution to the state. People of other races have contributed just as much as they have, um, or even more. So I don't see why we should be celebrating them and dedicating a month to them when their contribution is pretty much the same as everybody else's. Um, unless you can show me where they've actually contributed more, Mr. Cox here, or Governor Cox. I guess I'll call him Governor Cox. I don't have a problem calling him governor. I didn't vote for him, but um, I'll call him governor. I won't call Biden president. Um, but there is much different. There's a lot of difference there. But no, I didn't vote for Spencer Cox, and I wouldn't vote for him again. There's just no way that I can vote for him because he's absolutely a rhino of epic proportions. He is definitely an uh, establishment person, which pretty much makes him a member of the Uniparty. Um, and you may or may not know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's fine. You can look it up if you want. If you don't want, then whatever. That's up to you. But some of the things that he um, praised the Hispanic people for were have enriched Utah, and we celebrate their culture, traditions, and heritage. Oh, okay. Um, but why are we having to do this for a whole month? And what makes theirs more special than anybody else's? So why is this Latino month and not uh, perhaps Health Workers Month or Healthy Utah Month? You know, just throwing some ideas out there that would celebrate a lot more people and their efforts to contribute to the state in multiple different ways. But that's not the way Cox likes to do it anyway. He would much rather specify a very small portion of the population, and especially if they probably wouldn't have voted for him anyway. I I don't understand why, but apparently that's the way we do it today in politics in the United States. Is we actually support very small groups that probably don't vote for us in hopes that they might vote for us, even though they're probably not going to vote for us. So, and that is Cox to a T. He panders to everybody. And yes, it is legitimate pandering. I mean, that is pandering when you pander to a group that is not interested in voting for you, who hasn't traditionally voted for you, and you are trying to appease them by giving them a month or something to that nature. He did the same thing with LGBTQIA plus. as well. Is he gave them a month um, for nothing really, and that's basically what he's doing. He's handing out these participation trophies in the form of um, declarations of giving them a month of celebration for this particular group. And it's a very divisive way of doing it. Of course, um, those that defend him all say that it's inclusion, but he says that they they have profound and positive impact through their economic contributions and their strong commitment to family, faith, hard work, community service, and engagement. Oh, civic engagement. Um, so the Hispanic population, I believe, was somewhere around 14%. We'll even give them 15%. Somewhere around 15%. Um, but as far as their economic contributions, it is actually quite a bit lower than that to the state of Utah. It is lower than 15%. I'm not going to say how much lower because it's kind of embarrassing to be getting an award for your economic contributions when it's quite a bit lower than the percent of population you are in the state that you're getting the award for. But so their economic contributions aren't that great. I mean, they're important, and I appreciate the contribution that they've made. It's just not all that great. And it's nothing really to celebrate. But uh, now, if you celebrate the whole of Utah's contributions, then they're included in that, which would be perfectly fine. Make it an economic month or economy celebration. Um, a thriving economy celebration. I don't know, whatever you want to do. I mean, Hispanic Heritage has about just as much of a ring as a um, an economic month. Um, but yeah, that's just my opinion, I guess. Um, but yeah, I do believe that they are very good family, faith, hard work, community service, civic engagement. I think that they do contribute a fair bit in those categories. I don't think that it's a larger proportion um, than they are with the actual population of the state. So if they got, they probably have somewhere around 15% of the of the benefits of, if you broke down the statistics as far as their family, faith, and everything else. It's probably about 15% of the contributions, especially in Utah. And there's family and faith are two very important things to most of the people in Utah. Um, and it doesn't really matter what your race is. If you're in Utah, you probably have um, some interest in family and faith. Well, unless you're in Salt Lake, and then who knows? Um, Salt Lake's kind of our black sheep that has gone astray. Uh, whereas they have, okay, so, and then whereas, and he starts everything with whereas. It's really kind of annoying when he does this, but he does it on every single one of these little announcements that he makes and these little documents that he does. It's all whereas this and whereas that and whereas the other thing. And it's just annoying. There's no reason to use that. But he says, we acknowledge the generations of Hispanic and Latino Utah who have served in the armed forces, in government, as first responders, advocates, educators, scientists, lawyers, entrepreneurs, essential workers, and frontline service providers, artists, and private and public sector leaders. So basically, we appreciate the Hispanic people that actually work, is what that basically boils down to, because he's basically just listing off a whole bunch of different stuff. You might as well just say, we appreciate all the Hispanics who have served in the in commerce, or in the economy or in the workforce. There we go, the workforce. There you go. Or maybe we just take race completely out of it and we say we acknowledge the generations of Utahns who have served in the armed forces, in government, or the workforce. That way you cover it all and you don't have to put this and private and public sectors. I didn't know there was another sector that you could work in. There's pretty much private and public. Yep, don't know of any other sector, but maybe there is one. Um, so he's basically saying that anyway, so might as well just put it that way. But also, why do you have to put race in there? Why is race even important in there? And it's not like Hispanic and Latinos have a greater contribution than any other group of people in Utah. According to, based on their population, they do not have, they probably have the same amount. Actually, unfortunately, they have a higher poverty rate per population than does most of the other groups, racial groups in the state. So obviously, there are fewer of them working than most other Utahns. See, because they contribute about 20% of the people in poverty in the state, which would basically make it so, well, okay, so they have 15% of the population, but they have 20% of the poverty, which means more Hispanics are in poverty than the rest of the population per population. So it's just weird that we're celebrating the Hispanic heritage in Utah when the Hispanic heritage is nothing all that special, and yet we're celebrating that. Um, then it's we benefit from many contributions of Hispanic and Latino health workers across the state who are helping with us fight COVID-19 on the front lines, particularly community health workers, or and then he does a Spanish word basically probably for health worker, just to add a little bit more pandering in there. And I don't speak Spanish, so I'm not going to be able to say that. Not that it's a problem, or like I'm not trying to diss the Spanish language at all. Spanish and languages also, they don't have race. There is no race attached to a particular dialect of any type. English does not have a race. So the majority of the people that speak English might be white, but that doesn't mean that white is the white people are the only ones that speak English. In fact, there is people of every single race that speaks English. In fact, I know people of almost every single race that speak English. Of course, there's a lot of different well, I guess there's not that many races, but there's enough that you'd have to basically kind of say, oh, okay, this is one that fits that race. And I haven't done that, but I'm pretty certain that I know at least a few people of every single race that speak English. We do have at least that much diversity here in Utah. Um, we are majority white in Utah, and but that's the case with the whole entire United States. It's majority white. But we also have a decent sized Hispanic population with a little spattering of many of the other races in Utah as well. And I'm glad that we have some diversity in Utah. It's fine. I just think that there of a diversity of race, although I don't find diversity of race all that important. I find it much more important to have a diversity of ideas, diversity of opinions. That whole thing with Martin Luther King where he says to judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. I think that'd probably be a pretty applicable thing for anybody in general, is that you base your judgments on of people on what is inside of them, the content of their character. I think that's the best way to do it. But yeah, so they contributed with health workers, and I know that there are some health workers that are Hispanic, and good on them. That's cool. But I don't think that they're overrepresented in that area either. I would be surprised if they actually were over 15% of health workers in Utah. In fact, I'm fairly certain that it's below that. But we so yeah, and then he goes on. Our communities are also represented by a vast Latino and Hispanic youth voice, contributing the largest share of any other group, and our state will be shaped by our generations of young leaders who are entering the education system, workforce, and community space to create a hopeful future for all. Well, and that's all good and fine. The problem is I don't believe that it's true. One, that they have the largest contribution for the youth voice. That's far more likely to be white because um, whites in Utah still do have a lot of kids because the majority of them are Mormons, and Mormons have lots of kids. I mean, I have 6 kids, and I'm very white. So obviously, we contribute to the youth voice just as much. Whites contribute to the youth voice just as much or more per capita than Hispanics do. And if you take away the per capita, so if you say so, how much more than the 15% do they contribute to it? Maybe they have a surplus there, but if you take that away and you just say, okay, well, 15% of the population is Hispanic, so this is how many kids they have. If you just go by pure number, there's definitely more white kids in Utah than there is Hispanic kids. And if you go, so it's just dishonest for one. Um, and I'm not saying that that means that whites are better than Hispanics. No, it just means that they have a higher population. And not only that, but no matter which kids they are, whether they're white, Hispanic, black, whatever else, they their contribution to the state and to the future is not known. You can't put a value on it now. No matter where they come from, no matter who's having those kids, and no matter who's raising those kids, you don't know their contribution until we get to the future. So you really can't. It's all speculation as to what their future is going to provide, what they are going to provide to our future as a state, as a nation, as anything. That is all speculation. It's not something that you can knock down or lock down tight and say this is what they're going to actually do. This is the actual contribution that they're going to give. So everything in his document is just all pandering to Hispanics, basically giving them a participation trophy for participating in Utah. And really, when it comes right down to it, it's rather insulting to Hispanics to think that they need this. And it doesn't really help anyway, because they're just going to dismiss it and go about their daily lives, most of them. And the ones that do pay attention to it, they're going to be like, oh, okay, good on you, Cox. And that's pretty much going to be the whole deal with it. The vast majority of them aren't really going to even care that much. And when it comes right down to it, they get to the governor's election in 2024, they're probably still going to vote Democrat. Or at least 50% of them are probably going to vote Democrat. Cox isn't going to persuade that many of them over to vote for a Republican or for him, even. especially this far out. It's just not going to happen. Unless his game is to try and pander and get Hispanics to start voting Republican so that when the 2022 elections come around, more of them are voting Republican. And I suppose that might help him because it might put more and more establishment people in because the Hispanics traditionally vote Democrat, and so they know the Democrat policies, and so they're going to be looking for people that pander a little bit too more towards Democratic leanings. Um, so he's not really he's basically helping get more people of his ilk in office, and we don't want more people of his ilk in office because he does this. He posts things that are completely race related and that are just basically participation trophies for participating in your race. I just don't understand why this is anything worthwhile or this is anything that any Utahn should pay attention to. All it really is cops saying, look at me, I celebrate Hispanics. So, more power to him, but yeah, he still hasn't earned my vote, that's for sure, in any way, shape, or form. And he didn't earn it in 2020 either, and he will not ever win it because he continues to do this. He continues to be blind to the fact that we know exactly what he's doing, or at least the smartest people in Utah know exactly what he's doing. So anyway, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, turn it on all so that you get notifications whenever we upload new videos, and also comment down below. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me let me know what you think of Cox. Let me know what you think how he's doing as a governor. Let me know if you think that this is pandering or not. I enjoy having comments on my videos, and I try to get to them. I'm a little slow at it, but it kind of is complicated to figure out how to get to your comments on your own videos. I'm still kind of working through that and working on how to get that figured out. What I might have to do even is come in from my other channel and actually comment on my video from my other channel just so that I can actually get the comments on people's things. But we'll figure it out. I'll probably try and get it through my actual channel too. But yeah. So I will see you in the next one. This is the Roach Throsia. Goodbye.